Welcome to Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia Sejarah. Today, we will be covering some of the material in Chapter 1 of Form 4 History, the Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, and the Bronze or Metal Age. We will be covering this in 10 minutes or less. For many of you, this is the first time you are being introduced to the word sejarah or history. And I know that many of you are afraid of this subject because seniors keep telling you how boring or how difficult this subject is. I am here to assure you that history can be one of the easiest subjects. It's just like reading a storybook. When you know the story, things become more manageable. So, what is history? To put it simply, history is just a story told to you by someone. For example, if your friend came to you and started telling you about what happened to him yesterday, about how he played football and maybe he ate some ice cream, or maybe he told you about his trip to the zoo, well, he is telling you a part of his history. His story equals history. Get it? Or maybe you found your sister's diary from 2 years ago. You read all about her experience at a school camp, for example. You are reading a part of her history as well, or in this case, her story. Most of what we know about history today, we know by reading the texts and writings of people from long ago. But there was a time, a long time ago, when people could not write. How then are we able to discover their stories? The time when people have not yet learned to write is called prehistory or prasejarah. You probably know that pra means before, prasekolah means before school, and prasejarah means before history, before humans learned how to write. We learn about what happened during those times by archaeology. Archaeology is the study of ancient past through material remains like digging up fossils or pots and pans. Through this, we are able to get a picture of what things were like. There are 4 phases we use when we talk about prehistory. These are the Paleolithic, the Mesolithic, the Neolithic, and the Bronze or Metal phase. Now, I know if this is the first time you are learning this, you may get confused about all this Paleo, Meso, and Neo. Well, the first thing you can remember is that the Bronze or Metal phase is the last one. That leaves us with Paleo, Meso, and Neo. Paleo means old or ancient. Mesos means middle. You can think about it as the M in Meso stands for middle. Neo means new, as before the N in Neo stands for new. So, Paleo, Mesos, and Neo. Ancient, middle, and new. Doesn't seem too confusing now, I hope. So, there are 4 phases. The characteristics of people in these different phases are different from one another because, well, times change. People 100 years ago dressed differently, speak differently, and behave differently than people today. People during the Paleolithic and the Mesolithic times are somewhat similar. They didn't have a specific place to stay because they always had to move around. They live in one place for maybe 1 month, then they move to a different place, then they move to yet another place. We call these people nomads. The definition of nomad from Google: a member of a people that travels from place to find fresh pasture for its animals and has no permanent home. The reason they lived this way was because they were always looking for a better place to live. They used to live near rivers and lakes because of access to water, and even in caves because caves offered protection from wild animals. They live in small families and in small groups of families working together to survive. They caught fishes from the river, hunted animals, and collected produce from the jungle like fruits and leaves for medicine. Their equipment consisted of stone items which did not look sophisticated because its function was more important than how it looked like. Now, we move on to the Neolithic phase, the new phase. The main difference between these people and those of the Paleo and Meso phases was that the people of the Neolithic phase started to live in one place. This was because they had learned how to keep livestock, which are animals like cows or sheep, and how to plant their own crops like rice or corn to eat, so they did not have to move from place to place to find new food. Just like today, you don't need to go to a restaurant to eat because you already have a canteen inside the school compound. Well, okay, maybe your school canteen does not serve the best food, but you understand what I'm saying. With more food, they started to live in bigger and bigger groups because there was now more food for everyone. What happened with the extra food? They exchanged it with other groups living elsewhere for that other group's extra items. Let's say Group A has extra rice. Group B, living near the hills, have extra cow meat. Group A exchanges their rice for Group B's meat. This is called barter trade. They started to distribute tasks among themselves. Just like today, you have a schedule for whose turn it is to sweep the floor today, or whose turn it is to throw the rubbish or to rub the blackboard. If you were living during the Neolithic age, your schedule would probably be something like Monday, hunt animals. Tuesday, skin animals. Wednesday, take care of sheep. Mostly, the men were in charge of hunting, while the women were in charge of cooking and taking care of the children. They still used stone equipment, but these equipment were more advanced and more multi-purpose than those during the Paleo and the Meso phases. People in the Neolithic age also started to use tembikar or ceramic or clay instruments. It's something like plasticine, but it becomes hard after heating under the sun, so you could use it to make pots and knives and so on. Now, we move on to the final phase, the bronze or the metal phase. You could probably guess what the most important feature of this period is. People in Paleo and Meso phases used stone. The Neo people started to use clay, and even still they use stone. People in the metal phase started to use metals for their equipment. This opened a whole new range of possibilities. With metal, they made houses and boats. They were able to sail the oceans and visit other lands. They were then able to engage in barter trade with people from all over the world. With more and more food, the population started to grow. They formed neighborhoods, towns, and cities. They started to build kota pertahanan, or fortresses, to keep their people safe. In conclusion, human beings were constantly learning about the environment to survive. From using stone equipment, they learned how to use clay and then metal. By learning how to plant crops and keep livestock, they did not have to move from place to place. As their resources grew, so did their population, and they were then able to engage with people in different places and to do business with these people. However, they had to be careful of other people attacking their homes for their resources, so they had to start building fortresses for the sake of the safety of their people. So, did this video help you with your sejarah? Do you still think sejarah is hard? Write a comment below. Tell me what you would like to learn next. Ask questions and I will answer them. Hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'll see you next time. Take care.